the origin of the Spring Festival. To pray for salvation, only to make things worse? Today's focus. Now we will see what God will do. Find foods, 7 minutes a day, 1 Bible a year. Grace and peace, everyone. Today, our reading brings us to Exodus chapters 9 through 12. Quoting chapter 6 today is not wrong, because there is a sequence to it. Our key verse is from chapter 6. Then the Lord said to Moses, "Now you will see what I will do to Pharaoh. Because of my mighty hand, he will let them go." Before the plague struck, Pharaoh actually ignored Moses. Instead, after Moses and Aaron met Pharaoh, the labor of the Israelites became even harsher. They were given no straw, yet still required to make bricks. So the people began to complain. So Moses also raised the questions, "You have not rescued your people at all." Before the 10 plagues, God had already said these words, "Now you will see my mighty hand." In the book of Exodus, Moses had 3 stages in his life. Now he had reached the 3rd stage, leading the Israelites toward Canaan. Egypt and the wilderness were paths Moses journeyed through first. But after passing through the wilderness, he returned to Egypt to lead the Israelites out of Egypt and into the wilderness, so that they could eventually enter Canaan. Entering Canaan represents entering the promised good. So at this time, Moses was already 80 years old. Today's focus mentions that now we will see what God will do. This seeing is with the eyes of faith. Because you must have faith now, then you can continue to take the next step, following God's leading, so as to enter the wilderness and then Canaan. As the saying goes, good things take time. The Exodus was the same, yet God has his good purpose. When Moses and Aaron first met Pharaoh, things actually became worse. Yet this was precisely a test of faith. God said, "Now you will see." Note that God speaks in the present tense. Now, he does not even speak of the future, because with God, there is no time. For he spoke, and it came to be. He commanded, and it stood firm. Now, you will see. So for Moses, that is for human beings, we exist within time. We must believe by faith. When we believe, we will see. So that when God says you will see, you will surely see. The book of Exodus is about out of death into life, out of Egypt into the wilderness. Today's structure is chapters 7 to 12. That is the 10 plagues and the Passover. At the beginning, we quoted chapter 6, which is before the plagues, and the final plague is the Passover. This is related to the Spring Festival. Let us continue. The background is that, before the 10 plagues, Moses said, "Ever since I went to Pharaoh to speak in your name, he has brought trouble on this people, and you have not rescued your people at all." This may be a question or a complaint, yet this is human nature. Sometimes when our faith is weak, it can feel like nothing changes even after we've prayed. But from here we can learn that God is a God who dialogues with people, and he wants us to have faith. As the plagues were about to begin, God said, "Then the Lord said to Moses, 'Now you will see what I will do to Pharaoh. Because of my mighty hand, he will let them go.'" Let us look at what the 10 plagues were. Plague of blood, frogs, gnats, flies, livestock, boils, hail, locusts, and darkness. By the 9th plague, there were 3 days of darkness. Yet all the Israelites had light in the places where they lived. This is truly amazing. This corresponds to Noah's ark. When the world was struck by the flood, God's people were inside the ark. When the world is in darkness, we have light. So in the last days, we stand up and lift up our heads and are filled with hope, because with God there is light. The 10th plague is the death of the firstborn. On that same night, I will pass through Egypt and strike down every firstborn of both people and animals, and I will bring judgment on all the gods of Egypt. I am the Lord. The blood will be a sign for you on the houses where you are, and when I see the blood, I will pass over you. No destructive plague will touch you when I strike Egypt. This is a day you are to commemorate. For the generations to come, You shall celebrate it as a festival to the Lord. A lasting ordinance at the time of the 10th plague, that very night, which is like the lunar New Year's Eve. Before that night, the Israelites were to slaughter a lamb and put its blood on the doorframe. In Chinese New Year culture, people write many blessings on red paper. There is an ancient legend about a monster called Nian. It would come out at this time to devour people. But this monster feared the color red, so when it saw red, it would pass by. Interesting, isn't it? Because the blood is red. When the destroyer saw the blood, it passed over. So the plague did not come. The meaning of Passover is to pass over that doorway. We are to remember this day. It is a day of salvation. Reading Guide to Exodus. Exodus is about out of death into life, out of Egypt into the wilderness set in the Mosaic Age. Before chapter 9, now we will see what God will do. Chapter 9, plague of livestock, plague of boils, plague of hail. Chapter 10, plague of locusts, plague of darkness. Chapter 11, the declaration before the 10th plague, God instructed them to get ready. Chapter 12, the first Passover, the Feast of Unleavened Bread, the plague on the firstborn. Today's focus. Now we will see what God will do. Before it happens, God said, "Now you will see, and you will surely see." Blessed is the one whose delight is in the law of the Lord, and who meditates on his law day and night. Fine food, 7 minutes. See you tomorrow.